Hey there, it is John Downs here with Vellum Mortgage. And I have to tell you that we're only 2 months into the year and it's been pretty wild, right? A lot of heightened emotion, energy, a little bit of fear, a little bit of basket of people feeling a little unsure of just what's going on locally. Obviously, we have a new administration, we have new policies, we have new initiatives, and a lot of that is impacting, or at least appears to be impacting the foundation of our local economy. And obviously, housing is a product of the economy. It's a product of the jobs market, the local consumer, the ability to buy something, carry the debt that they already have, reinvest into their local markets, right? Spend money, go out to eat, all those things. So when there is an economic concern, it generally will lead to a lot of anxiety. So I wanted to reach out to everyone just to give you sort of a state of the market from my perspective and give you some things that I'm going to be kind of doing moving forward to keep you a little bit more in the know. But before I begin, I do just want to say anyone out there in my client database or watching this video that's been impacted by legitimate job cuts, or they're just in fear that one might be imminent with some of the things going on, my warmest thoughts go out to you. And if there's anything that I can do to help with my network of clients, it's a very diverse group of clients in the DC metro area, please do not hesitate to reach out. Send me your resume, give me a phone call. And if I can help point you in the right direction, make some introductions or anything to help you land on your feet better, I'm here for that. I'm not just John the Mortgage Guy. I am truly here to help in any way that I can. Now, switching over to housing, I do want to let you know that the numbers so far look exactly the same as the last couple years. I track a lot of data, really not just for me, but for our whole company. And, I look at things like how many new conversations are people having, right? Hey, I'm thinking about buying a house this spring. How many credit pulls? That is sort of one of the most early metrics of buying a house, right? Pulling credit. How many people are going under contract? How many loans are we closing? Right? When you put all that data together and you kind of look at it year over year over year, you can really pick up on trends. And I'm not really seeing anything different right now. Everything looks the same. Now, if you were on social media about a week ago, there were no shortage of disastrous headlines and even little pictures of like all these little houses for sale. And the headlines were reading, median house price down almost 10% in DC. Look at all these listings. The economy is ruined. The job layoffs are spooking everyone, and they're going to all list their house for sale to try to get out before the crash. Now, one thing I want you to know is that headlines are designed to capture your attention. And think of like the media right now, right? Just whatever news that you follow, they want you to click on that ad. That's why the headlines are so sensational, or the article. And then you look at the article and then what do you get? You get like 3 or 4 ads in between it, right? If there's a video of like, oh my God, you got to listen to this. Wait till you hear about the DC housing market and how it's falling apart. And then you're like, oh my, I've got to click on that because I live in DC. Like I need to know this. And then you click on that and you have to watch 2 or 3 ads, right, from people. So everything is designed to get your attention. What's changed recently is that social media now is paying these influencers money for the eyeballs that they create. So it used to just be with like articles or YouTube thumbnails, but now it's like everything. And when you get outside of our sort of DMV area, people are really like, it's really fun to pick on our area, right? Like outside of our area, like, oh, those government workers, they're getting what they deserve. I hope they all lose their jobs. Like that's what they get. I don't know why they feel this way. I mean, I know why they feel this way from a spending standpoint and some of the things we're learning about, but sort of the vile hatred that sort of spills to the individuals that I know are really good people kind of drives me crazy. The point I'm trying to make is a lot of those posts were just flat wrong. The market is the same by almost every metric so far that I look at. Inventory in, let's say, the entire DC metro area is up about 12%, but we're still 30% less inventory than where we were in 2019, right? Pre-pandemic times. So still a lot less inventory. Yes, up year over year. I will say that we're starting to see people back out of buying houses. So I've had 9 people in the last few weeks, which is a decent percentage of people that I've talked to. And a little alarming. 5 of them lost their jobs. 4 of them are in fear of either losing their job or confusion of what everything going on, what that's going to do to the local market, housing prices, things like that. So, of course, when you have DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, kind of jumping in and trying to slash as much spending, or the government initiatives of having much smaller government, and you just keep getting these headlines about, oh, 4,000 people in this department of whatever is going to be let go, or 1,000 people here, 4,000 here. I did a blog article on this. I'll actually put it in the link in the description below in this video, then you can kind of read into that a little bit. But every time you see those, it's easy for people to think that all of those jobs are right here in our local market. But the more I dig in, the more I realize that a lot of those jobs are national. A lot of the spending cuts that we're talking about, they're national or they're even global. So, there is going to be a reduction of buyer demand. Like, I feel it, I see it, I'm witnessing it. People in my country, people in my company are feeling it and seeing it too. But we have to remember that last year, the average house probably had 3 to 5 contracts per house, right? Just because inventory kind of stinks. So if our market is, let's say, 10 to 15% government employee, and let's say all of them lost their jobs, like 100% of all of them lost their jobs, we'd still likely have more buyers than sellers, right? It depends on what those people do with the house they have. Do they relocate? Do they move? Do they kind of push more listings into the market or not? I think we just have to wait and see how all that works. What I would say is, when I dug into my personal pipeline, so it's about 1,000 loans here in the last few years, and I'm actually going to take this to a company-wide level in the future. But it was something like 2 or 3% were individual government workers, meaning single people buying a place that were a government worker. About 10% of my business had at least one person in the household that was a government worker. But a ridiculously high percentage of those, like 85% of those people, qualified even without the government job or without both incomes, right? We only used one income to qualify instead of 2. So one could argue that if everyone lost their job in the government, maybe our local business is impacted by 10 or 15%, but 10 or 15% fewer buyers in a market that already probably has 3 to 4 buyers per house likely doesn't impact things much. So we have to keep an eye on it. It is something that we'll be looking into. It's something that, quite honestly, I don't think we'll really know until March or April, meaning late March, April, maybe even early May. I think things will really start settling down and making a lot of sense. Now, the one bright side to all of this is interest rates. So when DOGE really kind of takes hold, the Fed Treasury Secretary Bessent, I believe his name is, he said the president and himself, they were not focusing on the Fed's rate. They were focusing on the 10-year Treasury. The 10-year Treasury is what is focused, really directly tied to mortgage rates. And if you think about the 10-year really is trading more on the economy, more long-term. And my personal feelings are that with a lot of the policies being made, it likely leads to an economic slowdown of sorts, right? When you kind of focus on immigration, you kind of withdraw, like we went through a period with lots of new people and coming into our country, and then you kind of stop that and you reverse it. Then you also have kind of all the deficit spending, the program spending that we had, and you tried chopping all that way down. If our economy grew because of a larger population with more spending, and then you have an austerity type mindset where you're going to pull back spending and you're going to try reducing population, I think the natural impacts of that is likely going to be lower inflation, likely going to be some economic softness, and will likely be lower interest rates. And we are already seeing interest rates drop. So be sure, if you are looking at your home bot and you're scrolling down, looking at average rates, you might actually see some refinance opportunities for some people that bought over the last few years that might actually kind of show up in late March, April, May, potentially. Depends on all these new spending bills and things that they might then also pass, right? So on one hand, try to exercise some austerity, and then on the other hand, bring out a whole bunch of extra spending. So we have to see how the market digests all of that. But low rates will be a catalyst, will be supportive of housing. So even if we wind up having some hiccups short term economically, I think that buyer-seller balance, maybe it becomes more balanced. I still think we have more buyers outweigh sellers in that environment, but I think that's just something that we'll have to wait and see how it all unfolds. So I know I covered kind of a lot, not super deep in anything in this video, but really I just wanted to let you know that no, the world is not ending. Yes, there is some local pain out there, and I've been feeling it. There's a little part of me that back in the financial crisis, I felt like I became a counselor, like a personal therapist for a lot of people. And it was hard on me, actually. I don't talk about it much, but when every single one of your calls for 2 or 3 years is someone that you got to know who is then going through financial hardship, either job loss or now foreclosure or short sale, or just problems, right? That kind of transcends life, where let's say you're married and you bought in a great school district, but then financial troubles happen. Now you've got to move your family to another area, and maybe it's not the best school, and then your kids get into trouble, and then your marriage has problems. Like that kind of stuff. I lived a lot of that back in 2009, 10, 11, and 12. And I feel like I'm having a little bit of that right now. It's heavy. It's not fun. I do believe that the private markets, right, private employers, I do think there's a lot that's going to come into our local market, a lot of sort of a bullish story of the transition from government being a very stimulative economic force to the private sector. I think Besson even said that last week, right? We have to take economic growth from the government and put it into the private sector. That transition is going to bring in a little bit of pain. For sure, right? Is it going to be specific to us in the DC metro area? Is it going to be spread out equally around the country to where it doesn't really impact too many things locally? I think that's just, again, one of those many things that we'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, if you have any comments yourself, anything that you want to give me, any stories that you have, anything that you think will help me guide new home buyers, please, please, please feel free to reach out and send that to me. I would like to know. All right. And I hope to speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.